Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into a really pivotal moment in recent global history, China's accession to the World Trade Organization.
Yeah, the WTO. Huge topic.
Absolutely. We'll be unpacking the long and winding road China took to get there, the seismic shifts it triggered within China itself, development, industrialization,
Massive changes.
and the profound ripple effects felt right here in the U.S., particularly the well-documented changes in American manufacturing and the economic and demographic shifts that came along.
Right.
Our mission really is to get right to the heart of it, drawing out the crucial insights from our sources to give you a clear, comprehensive understanding of this major global event without getting too bogged down.
Precisely. We know people want to get informed
Yeah.
quickly but thoroughly, and that's exactly what we aim for. This period was one of just immense transformation,
Yeah.
and grasping its key aspects is pretty essential for understanding the global economic landscape we navigate today.
Okay, so let's unpack this story right from the beginning. China finally became a member of the WTO in 2001, but the journey was anything but quick, was it?
Not at all. We're talking about a 15-year negotiation marathon.
15 years. It actually started way back in 1986 when China first applied to rejoin the GETT, that's the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade,
Right, JET-TT, the precursor.
after having left it, get this, all the way back in 1950.
Wow, 1950.
Yeah. That initial effort then carried over to the WTO when it was founded in 95.
What's fascinating here is the fundamental shift China had to undertake just to even be considered. A country with a firmly state-controlled economy
Mm-hmm.
had to convincingly demonstrate a real commitment to becoming market-oriented
Yeah.
and crucially show it would play by the WTO's rules.
So that couldn't have been easy.
No, this wasn't just filling out forms. It demanded deep, significant structural changes.
Absolutely. And the 1990s were a decade marked by some significant hurdles in these negotiations.
That-
At the core of it were these big questions about, just how far China would open up its markets and how effectively would it enforce international trade rules.
Yeah, enforcement was a big one.
Western nations, understandably, were pushing hard for reductions in tariffs and dismantling various quotas and restrictions that were basically protecting key Chinese industries.
Protecting them from foreign competition, yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, remember that at the start of the 90s, China's economy was still pretty closed off, right?
Very much so. Only a limited number of companies were even allowed to trade internationally.
Right. And importing goods often meant navigating a really complex, burdensome licensing system.
Oh, yeah. Onerous. And
Yeah.
foreign goods were often just excluded from government purchasing contracts.
Right. So you can just imagine the long list of specific issues being intensely debated. We're talking things like access to China's agricultural market,
Always a tricky one. Agriculture.
the gradual removal of those textile quotas, opening up really significant sectors like banking and telecommunications,
Big ones. Finance, telecom.
and a perennial point of contention in international trade, protecting intellectual property rights, IP.
Always IP. This raises an important question about the sheer complexity involved. China had to engage in bilateral talks with every prospective WTO member.
Every single one.
Yep, to iron out specific concessions.
Yeah.
The sources really highlight just how challenging the negotiations were with the major players, the U.S., the European Union, Japan.
I bet. Each with their own demands.
Exactly. Their own distinct set of priorities and red lines.
And the U.S. in particular was really insistent on having special safeguards included.
Ah, yes, the safeguards.
This was directly linked to the the expected large increase in imports from China once those trade barriers came down.
They saw it coming.
The U.S. wanted a mechanism basically to respond quickly if their domestic industries were suddenly, overwhelmed.
Makes sense from their perspective. Another critical element was that designation of China as a non-market economy.
Right. Enemy status.
That status, which was part of China's accession terms for a full 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah, it had significant implications. It's essentially made it easier for other WTO members to slap anti-dumping duties on Chinese goods,
Oh, so?
because it simplified the argument that Chinese export prices were unfairly low due to government intervention. They could use prices from, a third country as a benchmark.
Oh, okay. Got it.
made those cases easier to win.
Well, we also can't overlook the broader geopolitical context, can we? The Tiananmen Square crackdown in '89 cast a long shadow.
Absolutely. Led to U.S. trade sanctions.
And for years, there were these annual congressional debates about whether to keep granting China most favored nation trading status, MFN.
Right, the annual MFN drama, which basically means giving China the same favorable trade terms as most other nations.
And interestingly, President Clinton initially linked China's trade status to its human rights record,
He did, yeah.
although he later reversed that position.
Yeah, decoupled it. It really underscores the delicate balancing act involved in integrating China into the global trade system. So much politics mixed in.
Totally.
Exactly. The international response to China's potential WTO membership was, well, far from uniform. Lots of different views.
Right. Not everyone was thrilled.
While many countries saw the potential upsides, access to China's huge consumer market, cheaper production.
1.3 billion consumers.
Yeah, there was also considerable ambivalence.
Right. On the positive side, China's Asian neighbors and many multinational corporations were definitely in favor.
They saw the opportunity.
U.S. high-tech and agricultural industries were also strong advocates, seeing huge potential for exports. There's even mention of nearly 200 American CEOs writing to Congress,
Lobbying hard.
urging them to approve the trade deal with China.
But then you have the other side. Industries in developed countries, U.S. textile folks, steel manufacturers were deeply concerned.
Worried about competing with low-cost Chinese imports.
Exactly. And they lobbied for protection. Even some developing countries like Mexico worried that investment and export orders would just shift to China.
Interesting point. The competition wasn't just with developed nations.
No, absolutely not.
Oh.
But despite these reservations, there were clear geopolitical factors pushing for China's inclusion.
Like what?
Western leaders, President Clinton included, expressed the hope, or maybe the calculation, that economic integration via the WTO would, over time, encourage more economic reforms.
And maybe even political liberalization.
That was the hope, yeah. Clinton famously said, bringing China into global institutions would open new doors of trade for America and new hope for change in China.
Quite a statement.
It was. What's fascinating is how all these different factors, these pressures and hopes, ultimately converged. One by one, key trading partners hammered out deals with China.
So the dam finally broke.
Well, the real breakthrough was in November 1999, the U.S.-China bilateral agreement.
Okay, that was the big one.
Apparently, it only happened after some significant concessions from the Chinese side, especially from Premier Zhu Rongji. There was even an earlier attempt that nearly fell apart.
High drama.
Seems like it. But once the U.S. deal was in place, the EU and others followed pretty quickly in 2000.
Right, the dominoes fell.
And then the pivotal moment came in September 2001 at the WTO ministerial meeting in Doha. That's where the terms of China's entry were officially approved.
Doha, okay.
And it's crucial, really crucial, to remember the substantial domestic reforms China itself undertook to make this all possible.
Right, it wasn't just about external negotiations.
No way. The late 90s saw an acceleration in restructuring state-owned enterprises, SOEs. Lots of closures, mergers, trying to improve efficiency.
Especially after the Asian financial crisis in '97, right?
Exactly. That was a big catalyst.
And in 1998, there was a significant streamlining of China's economic bureaucracy. That reduced the influence of the old State Planning Commission.
Yeah, shifted power towards agencies, focused more on market regulation. And Premier Zhu Rongji really emerges as a central figure here.
The architect.
A strong proponent of WTO membership, a key driver of these reforms.
And the reforms went beyond just restructuring SOEs.
Oh, yeah. China made efforts to curb corruption, even allowed business chambers to form, all aimed at creating a more rules-based, transparent economic environment.
Building credibility.
Mm-hmm. By the time they joined, China had committed to revising literally hundreds of laws and regulations to align with WTO norms.
Hundreds. That's a massive undertaking.
It is. And the tariff reductions were considerable, too. Average tariffs fell from over 40% in the early 80s.
40%.
Down to around 15% by 2001, with more cuts planned after joining.
15%.
Huh?
Okay. Still significant, but a huge drop.
And they agreed to phase out a whole array of non-tariff barriers, open up key sectors, finance, telecoms, distribution to foreign players.
So pretty comprehensive opening up.
What's really striking, and the sources emphasize this, is that these concessions were actually more extensive than what most other developing countries had agreed to when they joined the WTO.
Really? More extensive.
Yeah. The WTO Director General at the time, Mike Moore, described China's obligations as enormously far-reaching, possibly deeper than any previous nation joining.
Wow. So China really paid a price for admission, in a sense.
You could say that. It was a massive undertaking, and not without its domestic political complexities.
I can imagine. Reformers versus conservatives?
Exactly. Reformers saw WTO entry as a way to lock in market reforms, drive growth. Conservatives worried about the impact on SOEs, agriculture,
And public opinion.
a mix. Excitement about opportunities, anxiety about competition. But ultimately, December 11, 2001, China officially became the 143rd member of the WTO.
A true turning point.
And a turning point it certainly was. China's WTO accession acted as this powerful catalyst for an era of incredible economic expansion, global integration.
Boom years.
Absolutely. Over the next 2 decades, the country just fundamentally transformed into the manufacturing powerhouse and trading giant we know today.
So membership really did lock in those reforms.
It did. It solidified market orientation, boosted investor confidence massively, and provided that crucial, largely unfettered access to foreign markets.
The economic figures must be pretty staggering.
They really tell the story. China's GDP exploded from roughly $1.3 trillion in 2001
Okay.
to somewhere in the $14–15 trillion range by 2020.
Whoa. From sixth largest economy to
Second largest globally. And their share of total global GDP increased more than tenfold.
tenfold. Just incredible.
And the trade expansion was even more dramatic. Exports of goods surged from around $266 billion in 2001
This is still a lot.
to a staggering $2.7 trillion in 2020.
2.7 trillion.
By 2009, they'd surpassed Germany as the world's largest goods exporter. And by 2023, responsible for nearly 30% of global manufacturing output.
30%. Wow. And foreign direct investment. FDI.
Just poured in. To build factories, set up supply chains,
Yeah.
annual FDI inflows jumped from about $47 billion in 2001 to around $150 billion by 2020.
Making China the top destination.
Top FDI destination that year, yeah. This influx of capital and tech just accelerated their industrial growth like crazy.
But perhaps one of the most significant impacts, maybe overlooked sometimes, is poverty reduction.
Hugely significant. The percentage of China's population in extreme poverty that's under $1.90 a day plummeted
From what to what?
from 67% in 1990 down to under 1% by 2015.
67% to under 1%. That's historic.
It is. And China's post-2001 growth, significantly fueled by that WTO access, played a major role in that.
And it wasn't just overall growth, right? Specific sectors really took off.
Oh, yeah. Manufacturing became the undisputed engine. Think electronics, appliances, apparel, toys, furniture. China became the dominant global producer in so many areas.
The workshop of the world.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We also saw a huge growth in heavier industries.
All right.
Steel production went from maybe 150 million tons to nearly 1 billion tons.
1 billion tons of steel.
Auto manufacturing, from a few million vehicles a year to over 25 million. China became the largest car market and producer.
Right. And those coastal manufacturing hubs emerged.
Entire regions transformed. The River Delta, Yangtze River Delta. Massive export-oriented zones.
And employment. Did manufacturing jobs boom too?
They did increase, peaking around 2012, but productivity gains meant output increased even faster.
Ah, okay. Automation and efficiency kicking in.
Exactly. And the service and tech sectors also benefited indirectly. WTO entry brought in more modern finance, trading expertise, more competition.
Which improved efficiency in banking, telecom.
Right. Even agriculture had to adapt. Government support helped rural areas adjust, and many workers migrated to those booming coastal industries.
So to comply.